Welcome. Thank you for being here. Would you like to start with a little bit of introduction, where you're from, where you grew up, how old you are?
Yeah, well, without getting too specific, I'm from California and I've spent my whole life in California in a lot of different parts of California. I've
Mm-hmm.
been out of state a few times, but I'm Californian and I'm 31 years old
Mm-hmm.
and I donate plasma and I do recycling for a living. I don't have a job, like a real
Mm-hmm.
job.
Got it. Um, so usually I start with asking about your childhood and the way you were raised, and if you think it has impacted your decision of being child-free.
Yes. That's, in a nutshell, like the question itself really answers itself. I
Mm,
knew as a child that I I hated my life, and as a child, I I didn't want to be alive because of the way I was raised, the way I was treated. I was extremely isolated
mhm.
a lot of my life. I spent in one room. And I even had to eat and go to the bathroom in one room, and
Wow.
that was not really even the worst part. Being alone was much preferable to whenever my family
Mhm.
would be around. It was even worse, but I always wanted to have friends and go out and meet people, but the only people around me were my family, and they were so horrible to me. I don't wanna get into detail too much, but Um, my mother, I don't even call her mother, that's my egg donor.
Mhm.
That's how little I think of her. She abandoned me when I was 1 year old, and it was the best decision she ever made. I wish she would have stayed gone. She never should have come back into my life. All she did was hurt me when she came back, and she she was horrible to me, so horrible, and it's hard, you know, when people talk about like, oh, when you have kids, you it changes everything. You
Mhm.
unconditional love you, and it's not always true. And people say like, oh, you don't want to adopt kids because you're not going to be able to love them like your real kid. And like, then why didn't my egg donor love me? Because that doesn't always happen. That's a myth. It's a stereotype. You don't People don't just change from.
Magically.
Yeah, magic. It's magic. It's really believing in magic. And maybe for some people, they do you have something in them that wants to change, but it's not everyone. And I always knew that I didn't want what happened to me to happen to anyone else. And by the time I was 13 years old, I ran away from home, and I bounced around from like mental hospitals and youth or teen shelters. Actually,
Mhm.
a youth shelter, just like sidebar, a youth shelter is like from 18 to 24, and a teen shelter is like from 13 to 18. So I wasn't even a
Mhm.
youth shelter. I went to a teen shelter specifically for runaways, and the law is you can stay there for 24 hours before they have to call your parents. So sometimes I would go there for like 23 hours and then like leave and come back in a couple weeks, and just to stay away from my family. But eventually I would end up staying there for like months at a time because and while I was at this shelter and while I was in the mental health hospital, I saw so many other people like me. I
Mhm.
There was a girl at the shelter with bruises all over her face and arms because her dad beat her, and I just I couldn't I just saw so many other kids like me without one caring adult in their life, and
Mhm.
it's it's a joke how the ideas about, like having kids and how it's everyone should do it and just try to see if you like it, but you can't
Yeah,
take the decision back. You can't,
exactly.
you know, and America has some of the highest child homicide rates in the world, and it's an overwhelming majority of people who kill children are their parents.
It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's, I know that's like a lot, but I've been really, I know I've been really waiting to say this, because I feel like I can't really say anything about it because there's such a, like a stronghold on people's minds of like, be fruitful and multiply, go forth and prosper.
Mm,
And the most disgusting way that people put it is spread your seed. That has been said to me since I was like 10 years old. Like the purpose of life is to spread your seed. And
mm,
everyone always told me that I would have children, and they'd laugh at me when I said I didn't want kids, and they said that'll change, and it was always like this big grin, and it was always the most miserable people who hated their kids and
mm.
beat their kids who told me that I would change my mind about having kids. And it's like, so did you have children just so you could beat them and have power over them and control them?
Yeah.
It's what I really wonder sometimes.
Hmm. All right. With the so-called motherly instinct, I'm guessing I already know the answer, but would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, well, I guess, that's the funny thing, like, you know, I I have a caring instinct. That's what I would call it because,
Hmm.
um, to me, like, I have cats, and I love my cats. I call them my little babies, and I would die for them. I would do anything for them, and I would protect them with my life. So I feel that instinct to care and protect for animals and for other people's children, but, um so I guess it really depends on how you wanna put that. Like, I have never felt the urge to have kids, and it's funny because like, sometimes I've had, like, these really weird dreams about being pregnant and giving birth, and, like, in my
Hmm.
dream, like, I held my daughter in my arms. It's weird to it's hard to even say that, but it was a
Mm.
dream, and I woke up, and I was just, like, so glad it wasn't real.
Yeah.
But I do think that women have an easier time expressing these things, and not always just because of, your own innate biology, but because a lot of times society pressures men into being more stoic and, being called feminine if they do express, care and love,
Mm.
especially, like, for, like, animals and stuff, people be like, like, say, like, "Oh, that's sissy," or something like that. So, um, I think that it might be easier for, women to just kind of express that because of society, and so I wouldn't say that I myself have experienced, motherly instinct, but that's just because I choose to categorize those feelings. I just use a different word to describe that feeling.
Hmm. Got it. Um, have you been dating and how has it been for you?
Well, I am very lucky to have a child-free partner right now.
Mm.
Most of my life, I have been alone, and it was really hard for me because I always wanted that. I never had that love from my family, and so it really made me want that love from someone, and it was really hard. I had only ever been in, one other relationship before this my whole life, and that was, 10 years ago when I was 20. And so I consider though that my you know my struggle with dating is a lot more from just my own mental health problems due to
Mm-hmm.
my upbringing and not really being able to heal from that for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. And yeah, because thankfully my partner doesn't want any kids either. And the funny thing is, like, I've asked him, like, did people pressure you to have kids growing up? And he didn't get that kind of pressure. People would just like mention it, but not see, like, I feel like when you're a woman, people don't let you run away from the question. If you're a man,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, if you're a man, people just be like, okay, and then they move on to the next
Mm-hmm.
topic and they just take your word, but they don't let women say no.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions after that.
Yes, it never ends. I just
Yeah.
started saying, when people start asking about kids, I say, I'll say, no, I don't have any kids. And if they ask any further questions, I'm not up for discussion. It's an ugly conversation. It always turns bad. I just tell
Yeah,
people that I don't have kids and I'm not discussing it any further.
exactly. If somebody says they will have kids, nobody asks why, right? So,
Yeah, that's so, it's such a double standard. If you said that you don't want kids, no one will try to convince you otherwise. But if you said that you did want kids, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here, but you get what
the
I'm
other way.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, a
Got
little
it.
tongue-tied. I'm getting some water.
Do you still see meaning in marriage? Would you want to get married?
Well, yeah, I've thought about it a lot and I still don't really have an answer. I see marriage as a business contract more than
Mm,
anything, because you need a lot more than just love for a marriage. Because when you get married, it's your taxes change. If you have, one person has a lot of debt, that's something that
mm-hmm,
you have to consider, because when you do get married, even if you don't want to, the banks will mess with you. And I I I can see both sides of the situation. I can see how, it might be kind of weird to get the government involved in your relationship. Like, I love you so much, I'm gonna get the government involved. And I
mm,
can also see that, it's a tale as old as time. People want to be together and they want to. I'm I always felt like if I did get married, a wedding wouldn't really be worth it. I'd be
mm,
fine just going to a courthouse and signing the papers,
mm-hmm,
'cause, a marriage and a wedding are very different, and
mm-hmm.
people go crazy at those ceremonies. So I guess I would rather, um if I were gonna be in a long-term relationship with someone, someone I could see myself being with for the rest of my life, I'd rather be their wife than their girlfriend of 10 years, like, "Oh, this is
Mm,
my girlfriend I've been dating for the past 10, 15 years." I it that doesn't really sound like, something I would want if I'm gonna be with someone like that. I would rather get married, but
mm-hmm.
You never really know what's gonna happen. It's definitely not something that I really wanted as much as just to be with someone. I
Yeah,
see the relationship itself. Um,
more important.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A marriage is a business contract. You're doing business with them. That's your business partner.
Mm-hmm. In terms of sterilization, have you considered it? And is that even an option where you live?
Oh, I have wanted, that ever since I first hit puberty. Well, what I had originally thought, because I didn't really understand everything about, female organs and everything. I thought I wanted a hysterectomy, and oophorectomy, if that's how you say it. I wanted everything removed because my periods were
Mm-hmm.
so painful. It
Yeah.
it 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 and to this day, I still can't get used to it. I am incapacitated, and I have broken bones. I've donated bone marrow. I've been burned, and nothing compares to my period. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
That's terrible.
But I do want to be sterilized. I really do. But instead of getting, my organs, my uterus removed or my ovaries removed, I'd like to get the fallopian tubes removed
Mm-hmm.
because your body can still produce all the hormones that are produced by those organs, and with getting the tubes tied, there's more of a risk of an ectopic pregnancy. And I am calling around. I found that list of doctors on the the child free subreddit, and I'm just trying to go down because I have Medi-Cal right now, and Medi-Cal does cover some sterilizations. It's
Mm-hmm.
just been a matter of, it's hard to, really connect with a doctor. I have issues with my PCP and such, and I never really went to the doctor for most of my life, so even just,
Mm,
getting started is a new experience for me.
for sure.
I'm also just praying for menopause to come sooner rather than later.
Aw. Yeah, I get it. Um, I'm gonna skip some of the questions that are here just because we've already discussed those things. But what are your biggest frustrations with this lifestyle?
Well, I have to say that would just be other people's opinions of it because I wake up every day and I thank God I don't have children. I was homeless, and when I was on the streets, I always just thought like, man, not only am I so lucky I don't have a kid like this, but that a non-existent kid is so lucky that they're not stuck in it with me. You
Yeah.
know, so I am the biggest frustrations that I would have would just be the mockery and the I don't know, deridement, but just the general disdain people have, and the way other people will make you feel bad for your
Mm-hmm.
decision. That's really it. Like, I have never, not once, ever wanted children. And if what I really mean by that, what people don't understand is I will never be pregnant and give birth. If I want children, I'll adopt. Because
Mm-hmm.
after seeing all those kids at the shelter, I I I just can't believe how people could just keep having kids that they don't want when there's so many kids that need help. Sorry,
Yeah.
not to get off topic
Total.
again.
Um, what advice would you give someone who is facing a breakup over this?
I would say that there's always someone out there, and things don't always work out, and it's good. It's good that you broke up over this, because if you had gotten, what if, there's horrible things like people poke holes in condoms or stuff, or like replace girls'
Yeah.
birth control pills with placebos and stuff. So it's good. That means everybody's open and honest and on the same page. And it's never easy or fun. It's a bad breakup can be one of the worst pains that you feel in life, but
Mm.
it's also one of the most powerful educational and motivational things in your life. And I would say that there needs to be some kind of child-free dating app.
I know. I
Like,
think there will be actually. I think May 24th they are launching Child-Free Connections,
I
which is
love
gonna
that.
be child-free dating app, which is awesome.
That I love that. That's awesome because, you know, that's just like it's like it's not a good icebreaker to kind of like, you'd go on a first date with someone and be like, yeah, oh, I don't want kids, I don't want kids, and it can be kind of like it's not a good icebreaker because people on the other side might think that like, oh, like when did I ask that? I don't want kids either, but that's weird. Why did they bring it up, you know? But if you just get that out of the way before anything, because then, at the same time, you don't want to waste anyone's time either.
hmm I feel like those people who think the same way, they would welcome it because it's just you're on the same page right away.
Yeah.
Um, what stereotype about child-free people that really annoys you?
Selfish. That is the
Yes.
biggest one thrown around, and I just really don't understand how there can be such a disconnect, like, how people can be so far removed from their own head that
Mm,
you mean to tell me that you had kids for to carry on your legacy so they could take care of you when you get older, and I'm selfish because I don't want to hurt anyone.
yeah.
That's that really bothers me because if if it is not it's just so it's just really aggravating because all of my reasons for not having children is because I love children so much that I would not bring them into a world where they're just going to be hurt, a world that no matter how hard I try, I can't protect from
hmm
everything. You can, even as a parent, like you could do everything right and everything can still go wrong. There's just no way of knowing. And people put so many expectations on someone they haven't met yet. Your kid could be anyone. Your kid is not
hmm
a mini version of you. Your kid is not half you and half your partner. Your kid is completely random. You are opening the door for anyone to come into your life. And if they're not going to live up to your expectations, then that's a condition for you to love them. Then you do not love them unconditionally because
Yeah.
people want their kids to take care of them when they get older. And I'll tell you this, I am not taking care of my parents when they get older.
hmm
And people ask, well, like, "Ooh, well, who's going to take care of you?" Well, maybe all the money I saved from not having kids, maybe that'll take care of me pretty well.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
What bring
selfish sorry, yeah, it's just that selfish stereotype when only selfish reasons I have ever heard for having children, and only really selfless reasons I personally have for not,
Yeah, I agree. What brings you the most joy in this lifestyle?
would probably be my cats, my partner, and
Mm,
also I just wanna make a difference in the world. I pick up trash and I remove graffiti in my neighborhood, and I can see the difference that I make right out my window. Like, after I lost
hmm
my job, I had so much time on my hands. I just wanted to, make something of my time. And the best part is when I see other people start cleaning too. Like, um, that's the best when it inspires other people. And I've seen a real difference in the neighborhood since I started
hmm
doing it.
That's awesome. Do you have any fears, regrets, doubts that come up around your choices?
Well, not about regarding the child free. No, I mean, in my whole life, I've made a lot of mistakes and there's a lot I regret. But one thing I have never regretted is not having children. I've never gone back on it, even for an instant. And the only thing that I really fear is, you know, gosh, just like if I like God forbid it, if I did get pregnant, like that's my worst nightmare. I don't even really want to think about it sometimes, but movies like 28 Days Later, the zombie movie where they take the girls and they're making them put the dresses on and trying to repopulate the world by
hmm
force. That that scares me you know, being
Yeah.
being forced to have children, because that's what happened to my egg donor, and that's why she didn't want me. And people don't want to think about that stuff, but it's more common than people want you ever want to realize. And it's just scary because it's not right. It's you can't use someone else's body as an incubator. you don't
Hmm.
you don't get to just decide how what how someone's supposed to live their life. And the right to not have children has been long f- fought by all of our ancestors who were forced to have children.
Mm. Um, is there anything else that I didn't ask that you would like to add?
um I think I pretty much said it all, but one more thing I'd like to go a little more in depth in is, you know, adoption and foster kids, because one of the biggest misconceptions about adoption is that it's expensive. And that's really only if you want, like, a nothing beats the price of a homegrown designer baby, right? But if you
Mhm.
adopt foster kids, you will get a check every month. It is the opposite of expensive. You will get paid to have
Wow.
kids. And it's something that really hurts when people talk about it. And when I say, if I want kids, I'll adopt, be like, oh, that's so expensive. You have to jump through so many hoops. But I would want to adopt foster kids because, I wasn't a normal kid. I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna be able to raise a normal kid, and I can help someone else who may have had similar experiences in life.
Hmm.
And it's really not expensive. And if more people really wanted to have kids, I think they would try foster kids, but they don't want someone disturbing their peace. They don't want a kid
Mm.
who's been through stuff, who's been hurt before, and has issues, and
Yeah.
who might not want to take a bath because they're scared, and maybe they smell bad, and like they're not willing to work through that with them because they just want a perfect kid. and
Mm.
and they want to see what they would look like mixed with someone else, and it's just really egotistical. And I that's just really it, is that adoption is not expensive. Foster kids will pay you to adopt kids, and with like 100,000 kids in foster care, at least, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, having a kid, doesn't really change you, and that people don't unconditionally love their kids, even if they are their own biological kids, if they just
Mm.
throw them away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I guess the last thing I'd like to end on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for being honest and genuine, and maybe we'll catch up in a couple of years and see where you are.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for this opportunity to share my voice, because I've already talked my partner's ear off endlessly. He's sick of hearing about it, and I don't really have many people I can really share this with. And I just feel like it's just, I know exactly what I want to say, because
Hmm.
it just goes over around and around in my head over and over. So thank you for allowing me to kind of get it out of my head.
Happy to. Thank you.